Welcome everybody to Radicalized, Radpod and Chill. We are doing our weekly recap of our previous episode, and we had a wonderful interview with our friend John Mattis from EP77, from Lawyers, Guns, and Money. And I am looking forward to this hour with you guys. It seems like... well, I can tell you the less time I spend on Twitter, the better my mental health, that's for sure. It absolutely seems like the information warfare is cranked up to 11. And I just want to remind people that the people behind it are actual criminals, and to not continually get, psyoped into despair when we see war criminals greeting other criminals and everybody looks like they're having a fine time. It's like we are dealing with a transnational mob, and what they're very effective at is information warfare. And I just dropped an interview I did with Dr. Stephen Hassan today, and we need new laws. We need new laws that deal with predatory brainwashing and helping people under undue influence. So anyway, that's kind of what's on my mind. You guys jump in.
I like this a lot. This was good. This was a really good read, and if people aren't subscribed to your Substack, they should be.
Aw, thanks. It was a really important interview. It took me all day to transcribe it because I had to stop and follow the clues he was giving me. And we started the interview where I asked him what he was reading, and he's reading Rachel Maddow's prequel. Jim, I know you know a lot about that, but it's very, very important to know we've been here before, and how we got out of it the first time is because of citizens who were paying attention and not afraid to speak up. And even though it always seems like they've got all the money, we're dealing with fucking criminals, and we cannot obey in advance, and we cannot be afraid to speak out. And every day I see a new member of the media targeted by these criminals. And that's what they do when they're trying to hide their corruption, but we can't cow to it. And I just want to kind of rally people. Jim, what's on your mind?
Well, prequel is a good topic because it covers basically where we are right now, which is a radicalized America that's, in many ways succumbing to anti-Semitism and its sort of worst ego and id, and it's being accelerated intentionally by the richest man in the world. And I think the parallels between Henry Ford, which is what prequel is a lot about, and Elon Musk are extremely important to understand. Musk is, so Henry Ford, just briefly, for those who don't know, was one of the most vicious anti-Semites in American history.
Right.
He published in 1920 the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, which has probably caused more Jewish murder than any other text, in hundreds of years at least. The Protocols was Russian propaganda that was created by the czars. Because why? Because they needed a scapegoat. They needed a scapegoat to blame the fall of the Russian Empire, which was being attacked by Bolsheviks. They needed somebody to blame it on. So the Russian intelligence, and this is important, it was Russian intelligence who created the protocols of the Elders of Zion. They said, well, who do they always pick on? Oh, let's pick on the Jews. And so they created a hoax, not dissimilar to Q, honestly. It was a pretend sort of document that said it was from from some meeting of the protocols of the Elders of Zion. And you may notice the word Zion, which has been weaponized quite a bit recently. And so anyway, they made this document, pure hoax. They talked about how the goyim, all the white people, were going to become the cattle, and they were going to get eaten, and kids, just like all of the bad things that you can possibly imagine. Then Henry fucking Ford, Mr. All sorts of subsidizing, and he's lauded as a hero of the technocracy, right? Of technology of his age, coming in on his fancy new car, published the protocols of the Elders of Zion over a year and a half on his personal platform. So he in Detroit had bought up some local newspaper, including the Dearborn Independent, in which he published the International Jew, the world's biggest problem. And it was just repeating the protocols over and over again. And then I'll land my plane here. Guess who enjoyed his publication of the protocols so much that he mentioned it in his book, Mein Kampf.
Jesus.
The protocols and Henry Ford are both like big super fans of Hitler, as fans of them. So it's important to understand that this dynamic between bad fascists, war criminals in Europe who want to murder people at will, and American fascists who are complicit and not only put up with it but promote it, that is not a new phenomenon. In fact, it happened just about exactly 100 years ago by a guy in a very similar position to Elon Musk. And it's very important that we understand what he is, that it is not a new phenomenon, that extremely wealthy American fascists will get in power and start doing this shit. It's our fucking job to defeat it.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So I'm sure that you guys know about the Nazis of Copley Square by Charles Gallagher. But these are the types of books that Stephen Hassan was mentioning as he was talking about prequel, because Maddow pointed out if it weren't for the citizens who stood up and were whistleblowers then, we would be Nazis. And so that's kind of what we're talking about today. There's a playbook. They're replicating it closely. And I cannot overestimate how important it is that citizens do not, do nothing. Everybody can do something about this. And it is really alarming. Like Jim was saying, the parallels are shockingly alarming in a way. And also in a way, it's like, when the authoritarian capture occurs, the reason that there is a playbook is because it's easy. It's easy to get people, freaked out over, fear of the othering. It's easy to, pretend and cherry pick from a mythic past that they create. All of these things are incredibly easy to duplicate and to replicate. And what's really important is that we actually stay aware and that we lean on all the people who've become our allies who are defending democracy wherever they are. Because I'm going back to what I originally said. These people are criminals. They're doing corrupt things. They come to power to hide their corruption. It's part of a network. It might be disheartening to see Putin arriving in another fossil fuel rich country with planes flying overhead in the colors of the Russian flag, but understand they're criminals. That's why they do it. It's part of the authoritarian playbook. So
but yeah, I wrote a piece a couple of days ago, yesterday. I don't fucking remember. 2 days ago, about one day in American history. I wrote it yesterday. It was about the day before that, when Donald Trump said he would be a dictator from day one.
Yeah.
And I want to point this out. As Ruth Ben-Ghiat said, she said, "I've been studying dictators for decades. They don't stop after the first day. That's not a thing that happens, so don't count on it." And so that was one thing. So all the way from the top, and then you have Kash fucking Patel.
Yeah.
Right? Kash Patel saying out loud to Beef Standing on their fucking show that.
Can we watch it? Because I have it.
You do? Okay.
Oh yeah,
do we have to?
Check it out. I got a deep web clip of Bannon and Kash. I don't know how glitchy it is. So,
but do you believe that you can deliver the goods on this in a pretty short order the first couple of months, so we can get rolling on prosecutions?
It's very
yes. We got the bench for it, Bannon, and you know those guys. I'm not going to go out there and say their names right now, so the radical left-wing media can terrorize them. But, excuse me, the one thing we learned in the Trump administration the first go-around is we got to put in all America patriots top to bottom. And we got them for law enforcement. We got them for intel collection. We got them for offensive operations. We got them for DOD, CIA, everywhere. And the one thing we will do that they never will do is we will follow the facts and the law and go to courts of law and correct these justices and lawyers who have been prosecuting these cases based on politics and actually issuing them as lawfare and actually issuing them as lawfare and actually issuing them as lawfare. We will go out and find the conspirators, not just in government, but in the media. Yes, we're going to come after the people in the media who lied about American citizens, who helped Joe Biden rig presidential elections. We're going to come after you. 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 Whether it's criminally or civilly, we'll figure that out. But yeah, we're putting you all on notice. And Steve, this is why they hate us. This is why we're tyrannical. This is why we're dictators. This is why we're tyrannical. This is why we're dictators. This is why we're tyrannical. This is why we're dictators. This is why we're tyrannical. This is why we're dictators.
Okay. So that motherfucker, in case anyone was unaware, is attempting to sue me for $10 million for calling him a chud and a traitor. Oh, I called him a traitor too, because I don't know. You got
small detail.
5 fucking minutes. So he's on with Steve Bannon saying that shit, and then on the same day, Mike Johnson, the actual Speaker of the House, says, "Tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna obstruct justice." Said it right out loud. He was like, "So I'm gonna release these tapes, but we're gonna blur the faces of the criminals because we don't want them prosecuted by the DOJ." 2 heartbeats from the presidency. We're going to prevent the DOJ from prosecuting insurrectionists. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the fourth thing that happened on that day was that a bunch of QAnon accounts who had just met, by the way, the day before with Mike Flynn to talk about child trafficking and Pizzagate training and all kinds of horrible shit, suddenly goes full Hitler. Like, full Hitler. Like, I'm not saying Hitler was a good guy. I'm not saying he was It's just straight up. And then they went into Holocaust and not the whole bit. Fucking.
I don't hear Jim, do you?
I don't either, but I do need to point this out that one of the main people in Pizzagate, one of the main people in Pizzagate is a woman named Liz Crokin, right?
Yeah.
And today she shared a meme on how Trump was
Jim Stewartson joined.
working with Russia and Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot.
Oof.
So
We just have-
you just glitched out and we lost you. Go back to that meme that you just showed, because Jim had a comment on that. Go back to
I have no idea where it cut off.
No.
I was bringing this in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. So we'll get to that. So we've got QAnon guys literally just red pilling people to Hitler, straight up Hitler. And then we've got this woman, Pizzagate Liz Crokin, who that meme is horrific beyond words. Here's what they do. They send you a bunch of red pill material, which is child abuse, traumatic, dissociative material.
Yeah.
They scar you and terrify you.
Yeah.
And then they give you, while you're in that condition, a false solution. And the false solution is that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin and Bonesaw guy are actually saving the children for you. So you better vote Donald Trump in, because those are his friends and they're going to protect your fucking kids.
Right.
The guy who's kidnapping hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian kids and trafficking them over the fucking border, that's raping and torturing Ukrainians all day long, every single day, is going to save your fucking kids. Right? The guy who took a fucking saw to Jamal Khashoggi is gonna save your kids? Are you fucking insane? The answer, sadly, is yes. Because for 7 years their brains have been absolutely scrambled by this shit. And now you've got the richest man in the world and the worst traitor in American history, and Chudley McFuckstick over here, like literally just telling everybody that this is the solution.
Yeah.
So that was one fucking day where all of those things happened. Absolutely transgressive, offensive attacks against everything American.
Yeah.
And what happens? We prosecute Hunter for fucking tax.
Right.
Fucking Hunter.
Right.
Let's get a goddamn special counsel for fucking drug addicts.
Yeah.
Hunter, give this fucking guy. I mean, I'm
sorry. You would think it was the Kremlin.
Very, very frustrated with.
I get it,
man.
So
they're just hanging us out to dry.
Yeah.
Doing performance art with Hunter fucking Biden, and
we're not even fighting back. So the whole origin of this show was to investigate radicalization, who was doing it, how it was occurring, and how we could help people, right? And anybody who's watched this show from the beginning knows that we have said over and over again that they have to escalate this rhetoric. They have to, just like an addict who gets used to a certain amount of, drugs, a certain level, they have to keep ratcheting it up, cranking it higher until we get to this, until it's completely out in the open, pro-Kremlin, pro-Hitler, whatever disgusting shit. And you wonder why people buy it. The people that Jim was even referencing, they've been psyop themselves. And this is fresh on my mind because of my in-depth interview with Dr. Stephen Hassan, who has been helping people for 47 years get out of cults. We have to declare a public health emergency because we have no inoculation right now. We need to do a lot of training interventions, get people aware that it's happening, and destigmatize it. And it has to happen like now, because people, I'm really over the underwhelming response by media. Oh, it's just so weird, and how could anybody believe it? It's like, look around you. There is nobody watching right now who doesn't have family, whose brains have been picked off, who are under undue influence, who are not themselves. Everybody's been affected by it, and yet we haven't declared this a national emergency. Those predators who are brainwashing your family members are hiding behind the First Amendment, which is not what it was meant for. It wasn't meant so people could go in and steal the brains of tens of millions of people to hide their corruption and marches toward fascism. I'm sorry, but we could do better. And again, we said this from the beginning when Musk took over Twitter, that it would be a psyop cannon to people's heads. And damn right it is. Even as much as I know about this field, this work that we do, it's hard for me to be on that platform. I have to put my punk rock armor on before I even go, dive in. And then I can't stay as long as I used to be able to, because it is a traumatic cesspool. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, just scan any of your favorite activists or your favorite politicians' timeline. Go look at, comments on what Jim does. I was looking at Gavin Newsom today, and go look at what Musk has enabled and accelerated. The comments doing the work of the Kremlin and our foreign enemies. It's absolutely traumatic and disgusting.
Free speech in the mouth of a fascist means I want the right to brainwash you. It does not mean I want the right to transmit my ideas to you. It doesn't mean I want to say controversial things. It means I want the right to pummel your brain, to affect the chemistry of your brain, to create fight or flight reflexes, to design entire pipelines of content and radicalization and cult dynamics and social media engineering to brainwash people.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with free speech. It has to do with, I want to take free speech and turn it into something that prevents people from being able to formulate free speech.
Yeah.
Because once you're brainwashed, you don't have free speech anymore. Your speech is coming out of somebody else's fucking mouth.
Right.
And so again, just to say it, when these assholes say, "Oh, you're taking away my free speech," that's bullshit. Nobody's trying to stop them from putting their ideas out there. But what we're trying to stop them from doing is organizing brainwashing against American citizens, because it's warfare.
Yes, that's right.
Warfare. And it causes actual damage.
Yes,
to
that's
people.
right. That's right. It's a national health emergency. Dr. Hassan was describing his time in the Moonies, and he was trained not to think, that thinking was evil. He had to follow the leader. And to people who are maybe listening to us, who might be in a cult, a hate cult or a religious cult, one thing that's very important to know is when you're in a mind control cult, there is an illusion of community. You feel like you have community. But Dr. Hassan says the most important thing to know is if you step out of line, they're going to turn on you and you'll be the evil one. So it's not real love. It's very, very conditional, based on conformity and obedience. So I just wanted to make that point, because I do understand so many people who have been psyoped one way or another believe that they're part of a community, but it is an illusion and it's very conditional. And Jim knows because some members of his hate cult came out of it, and what happened to them? The cult turned on them, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I had some people that, I ended up becoming, I don't know about friends, but came to a full understanding with, that had spent time literally just attacking me all the time and spending times in Zooms and Discords and all kinds of crap where they were just making up conspiracy theories about this fucking guy. Like, so, and once they sort of questioned it a little bit, instant. Every single one of those same people who was welcoming them into that little hate cult was like, tried to get them to hurt themselves actively.
Yeah.
That's how cruel this shit is.
Yeah.
Even my cult are trying to do this shit. It's nuts. And the reason is that it's so prevalent now is because it's not only allowed, it's encouraged.
Yeah.
Every single thing this dude has done has been to encourage that shit. Bring all the radicalized people back, bring all the Nazis back, have these Twitter spaces that are completely unmoderated where people just brainwash each other all fucking day. It's just horrifying.
Yeah.
And sadly, the only thing to do right now is stand your ground and fight.
Yeah.
Only, and this is important, you are ready to fight.
Yeah.
If you're not
gnarly.
If you're not on there specifically to battle in an information war, go somewhere else.
Right.
Like, as much as I will miss you, it's fucking toxic. So if all you're doing is sort of observing, I don't recommend that.
Mm-hmm.
You should find another place to observe, because all you're doing is giving them an attack surface.
Yeah.
If you're on the offense, if you're actively understanding what these trends are, how this war is being fought, fucking A, we need as many like metal warriors as we can get out there. But you can't. It ain't for the casual folks anymore, man. It's intense. It's really bad. I see these trends, Nazi Germany trends, right? What's that gonna be? It's lots of people talking about the terrible history of Nazi Germany and what happened, right? Absolutely not. Equating, Israel to Nazi Germany and all of this insane shit that is designed to remove people's sensitivity, to make it normal, to throw these words around.
Yeah.
There's nothing normal.
No.
Nothing.
And Linda Yaccarino there, just bringing the soft fascism, covering like in this alternate reality of her own creation. It's like we see all the ugly, the anti-Semitism, the horror porn, the trauma porn, and we see it all on Twitter. And there she comes. Oh, look, we have 10 million new people. Aren't we great? Thank God Jim is there to quote tweet with, look who just arrived, the Third Reich is here. HiFi, I'm sure there are things on your mind. I would very, very much like to give our viewers a sampling of our wonderful interview with John Mattis, who, by the way, we talk about heroes and we talk about reinforcements and the people who do the labor of democracy. This guy for decades has been in the trenches doing the labor of democracy. Our interview with John Mattis from episode 77, he was the subject of Lawyers, Guns, and Money, Jack Bryan and John Cryer's podcast. This guy is so inspiring. For 5 years, he took on the rat fuck nest of Iran-Contra and didn't give up and exposed it and gave it to John Kerry. And ultimately, the the Reagan administration had to admit to what they had done and what they had covered up. And that's because one guy who had learned in Wisconsin that a group of people can come together and make their community better wouldn't give up. So I'd love to either hear from the podcast or hear something from John's interview.
Yes, it's a true story, but my gosh, it takes us back to sort of Miami Vice and just all the craziness and excitement of the 80s. But for you who lived through it, you described it as like this 5-year slog. Can you kind of give our viewers more on what you meant by that?
Well, again, I look at this saga, whatever we want to call it, or a slog. I look at it as a process that I didn't pick. I didn't volunteer to investigate the CIA. No one said, hey, John, I've got an interesting case. Could you spend the next 5 years immersing yourselves with mercenaries, cartel leaders, and terrorists? That was not in my plan. And so as I got slowly drawn in to this process, it was alien to me. Miami, Florida was very alien to me. I'm from Wisconsin. I go to fish fries on a Friday. I don't go to a terrorist meeting in the Everglades on my Fridays. I sort of try to have a very rational world. So the world I got drawn into was a world that was not of my choosing. And slowly over time, I got sucked in to the point I couldn't get out. And it was a day to day,
Right.
Day in, day out, the war went on.
Dude's awesome. What I loved about him was just sort of how random it was that he got involved, but he was like, oh shit, that's fucking weird. And man of my heart would not let that shit go. There's an important phrase that Jack told us when he first visited before it came out, which is limited hangout.
Mm-hmm.
Limited hangout is when a group like the CIA or somebody who's done something not good, they will admit to something, but and it will be bad. Ooh, that's bad what you did there. But they will not mention all the really horrible shit, the fucking literal drug trafficking out of American cities, the going to the White House to get fucking cases of cash from the White House to give to terrorists. We were doing that. So there was a bunch of reporting at the time about Iran-Contra and ooh, it's weird, and Ali, and like that. But nobody actually got down to the core of the story. Even though, John was there, he was doing it the whole time. It took 20 years or more for Jack to come along and string the whole thing together into, a cracking story. And spoiler alert, episode 7 brings it home. Brings it all home to everywhere we've already been.
It brings us all home to January 6th and how the same network that was behind Iran-Contra is affiliated with the network that tried to overthrow our country, which brings me back to the criminals who are trying to control the narrative, and we must not let them. If you find yourself being psychologically manipulated by these criminals, go to Ruth Ben-Ghiat's Twitter feed, go to Jim's Twitter feed, go to my Twitter feed, go to Jay Rosen's Twitter feed, go to people who have a handle on this stuff, Timothy Snyder, wherever it is that you find refuge, and just realize that we can counter message and we can launch our own counter messaging offensive, but we can't do it when we're mentally on our back foot. We have to stay proactive. HiFi.
So I'm going to take a little chunk of time here because I got something I got to share with people. You know, a lot of stuff happened today. But one thing caught my eye particularly. And it's the curious case of Mr. Alan Hostetter. I looked into Alan because of what happened today. And he's an Army veteran. He was in the Army. Yoga teacher. He served as a short time as a police chief. He's a nice guy. I mean, he's a little woo for my taste. You know, he gets into sonic healing, which is Tibetan sound bowls, which that's fine. I mean, heck, our closing sound on our Radpod episodes is a meditation bowl. He also receives a $150,000 a year pension. He seems to have everything going for him, right? Except we know from data and disinformation, veterans, people with mental health, financial issues, these people are all targeted for recruitment and radicalization, right? We know from Disinformed documentary, the yoga community, which he was part of, was targeted by conspirituality, anti-vax sentiment, utilizing ISIS techniques, including traumatizing propaganda. We know QAnon is being targeted at law enforcement, former law enforcement. So, like, who is Alan? What's his digital exhaust look like? And why was he only a police chief for a short time? And if you search him, you find out, you know, he taught yoga, and he was kind of a granola crunchy kind of guy. But then I found his BitChute, and I started watching pieces of his videos, and you can see what I found. He's railing that bottom one, corruption. He's railing against a district attorney who he doesn't like. And then if you scroll down to page 2, thank you, General Flynn. January 6th was fake. Defund the FBI. No one can stop what is coming. Page 3, Julian Assange. We find out his mental health issues led to his resignation from the police force. And there's one video that's actually kind of poignant. I really felt bad for the guy. Signs of targeted harassment, feelings of persecution. He thinks the government is after him for some reason. And I'm not saying they were or weren't, but he had that impression. And one would ask, why does he have that impression? What happened? And then one other sign of weirdness I found in his past was he got a $75,000 loan for his 501c3 American Phoenix Project. He went to January 6th, and this is what he carried. And at his sentencing today, he was found guilty. Instead of throwing himself on the mercy of the court, instead of even pretending remorse, the man alleges there were crisis actors. January 6th was an inside job. Biblical quotes, dark forces that set up a matrix. I think the most disturbing thing of all, Ashley Babbitt was a psyop. Thinks he's still alive.
Yeah, you know, when he said that with Ashley Babbitt's mom in the gallery, in the audience. So tell that to Ashley Babbitt's mom.
His life is ruined, right? He's going to prison for 11 years. But right. Here's my conclusion about Alan, is that Alan had multiple vulnerabilities, right? He's a veteran, mental health, the magical thinking, new age spirituality. He displayed signs of being digitally manipulated, a target of psychological operations. You know, if you watch that video, the man is anguished, right? Mm-hmm. We know he had General Flynn, QAnon, anti-vax. And he had, in one of his videos, he was reciting bloodline to Illuminati conspiracies that were given to him by a federal agent. Like, what a strange. This is a failure. The people who are supposed to be protecting their citizens are failing. The people who are supposed to be guiding our response to this are failure. It's just. Anyway, that is the strange case of Mr.
I mean,
Allen.
unfortunately, it's not that strange.
Yeah,
at all.
I was going to say, yeah,
He's extremely, extremely typical.
Yeah.
I think you very, you did a great job at figuring out his vulnerabilities and
Yeah.
exactly how they got to him. One thing I do want to say that he said, and also Kash Patel said, which is that 1-6 was an inside job.
yeah,
And some of the punditry is like, ooh, that's crazy. How could you say that? I'm like, well, what they're doing there
yeah.
is called projection.
Projection. Yeah,
Because it was an
Yeah.
inside job. The fucking Secret Service was infiltrated. The FBI was infiltrated. The Capitol Police was infiltrated. I'm not making this up. This
Yeah. All
know that.
documented. Yeah,
The White House was infiltrated top to bottom. There were like a couple of lawyers in there who were like, I don't know if I want to go to federal prison for the rest of
Yeah.
my life. Nah, let's not do that. But every single other person in the White House fucking knew. Mark
Yeah.
Meadows was on the phone with Mike Flynn and Roger Stone the day before. This was an inside. The entire Pentagon, the civilian heads of the Pentagon were decapitated after the election.
Yeah.
And who was put in there? A bunch of Mike Flynn's guys, including Kash fucking Patel.
Yeah.
And they orchestrated the locking down the National Guard. They rushed Charles Flynn's promotion through at the last minute so that he could participate from inside the Army. This was an inside job, and it's very important that we not elide that we not go, ooh, any conspiracy theory is a conspiracy theory, and so it's automatically wrong.
Right.
There's a conspiracy here. There's a real, obvious, and well-documented conspiracy that we have done nothing about yet.
Yeah.
So, fucking Hostetter, like what his entire like pathway there reminds me of the guys who were talking about Hitler.
Yeah.
That bloodline Illuminati shit, that goes straight to anti-Semitism. That goes straight into the dark reaches. And these fucking QAnon guys were talking about flat Earth. They were debating whether nuclear weapons existed because their brains have been scrambled.
Right.
Like this fella who's going to spend the next 11 years probably not getting any better. And and I'll land my plane. These guys who go to prison come out worse. Have you seen Jacob Chansley?
Yeah.
Have you seen that motherfucker? That guy, the horn guy, went in there to prison and they didn't do anything. They let these assholes outside sing them kumbaya songs so that Jacob Chansley could feel like a hero. And then they let him out early. And now he's got tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who follow him around like he knows anything.
Yeah.
Because to HiFi's point, failure across the board.
Mm-hmm.
We have completely dropped the ball on what's actually happening to the minds of American citizens. We just have, and I'm glad you had a conversation with Dr. Hassan.
Yeah.
Because he's my hero, and I would have probably given up hope.
Yeah.
A long time ago if it weren't for his example.
So thank you both, Jim and HiFi. HiFi, I really want to thank you for taking the time to put that together, because as Dr. Hassan has taught us, he's a victim. Hassan says undue influence is the most important topic on the planet. He originally thought it was climate change, But because of undue influence, we can't even deal with climate change. So until we get a handle on that, and he said it actually starts with deprogramming is not a convenient word. Let's use de-radicalization, starts with psychoeducation, which we have none of at this moment. So a guy like him, it's very, very important for us to point out smart people, kind people, thoughtful people. Everybody is a target. And because of, as Dr. Hassan says, the data wars is the new nuclear race, nuclear arms race, because our data is out there, the criminals that we report on week after week know exactly how to intrude on that person's mind to drive them toward extremism. This was not an extreme person, just like Ashley Babbitt wasn't an extreme person. They fell down or were lured into rabbit holes where they are disassociated from their true self. And I do hope that Dr. Hassan's plea for the mental health emergency in our country to be declared a national emergency is heard by the highest levels, so people are able to get help. So a guy like that doesn't come out worse after he does his time in prison, that he actually gets help. And back to the criminals. You isolated one guy who gets 11 years. Meanwhile, the radicalization tours are continuing. The projection continues. Laura Trump is out there saying exactly what we say about Trump, wanting to come to power to hide his corruption. She's saying the same thing about Biden. It is not accurate. It is a manipulation of words and minds. And the last question I had for Dr. Hassan is, what do you think George Orwell would say about the times in which we live? And he said, he'd probably say, I told you so. I just got the year wrong. We are living in 1984 right now. And I'm glad that we're able to do our part. But like John Mattis was saying, no one signs up for this. Like, we've been drafted because of our unique skill sets. Jim did not intend for this to be his life for the last 3 years. I certainly didn't intend for this to be my life. I found the first tweet I put out on my first anti-Trump blog today. It was liked by one person, maybe reposted by two, but more than 7 years ago, I threw all in for this fight. I'm still here. And we're losing the information war. That's a fact. Whether or not we're able to have enough of an impact at the polls, we'll see at the ballot box. Yes, HiFi.
I would like to say something else about Alan. Today in court, he quoted something that we all watched or maybe heard about. This is what Alan Hostetter quoted today in court.
It is the deep state that at least Donald Trump attempted to take on. Why am I the only person on the stage, at least, who can say that January 6th now does look like it was an inside job? That the Great Replacement theory is not some grand right-wing conspiracy theory? That the 2020 election was indeed stolen by big tech? That the 2016 election, the one that Trump won for sure, was also one that was stolen from him by the national security establishment that actually put up the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that they knew was false.
Cut this guy, okay? He's a very dangerous fucking propaganda. Another Peter Thiel.
Oh, hi. Thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
Yeah,
JD Vance is out today trying to drum up support for suing media. These are dangerous people.
Yes, they are dangerous people. Let me say something about fucking Soraswamy here. By the way, Vivek Ramaswamy is a fucking liberal who took a bunch of money from George Soros and Pfizer. So go red pill somebody with that shit, right? Soros. So he's been running around trying to scrub his Wikipedia and stuff like that. In the meantime, he got $20 million from
Oh, hi, thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
To fund his completely bullshit company, and so he could be Peter Thiel's mini-me.
Didn't you read The Atlantic? Peter Thiel doesn't want to do anything anymore with politics.
Oh yes, he's totally given up. So his job, and let me be one of the. I don't think it was. We got to that part in the clip, but he said the Great Replacement Theory is not a hoax. It is the official platform of the Democrat Party. Now,
It's fucking dangerous.
it was like 2 years ago, maybe. I just saw a little creeping up out of the worst possible places
I remember that.
on the internet.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, wait,
Wow.
we're doing Great Replacement Theory, right? Freak me the fuck out. Because it's so wrong, and the only place that you saw it until like 2 years ago was neo-Nazi mass murderers manifestos.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
That's where they would show up. The Christchurch guy, the El Paso guy, and the Oslo guy who killed 80 people.
Yeah.
Had that was the subject. It was on the cover.
Yeah.
Great Replacement. And now this motherfucker, who would be replaced in a heartbeat by the Nazis he's working for, is out here spreading it as if it's a legitimate conversation starter. And nobody else on stage said jack shit, by the way.
Yeah.
Everybody just, ooh, he's being such a little ruffian. I wish he wouldn't be such a. It's a genocide shit.
You can see how
the whole point of it, Alan, is the Overton window, and this is
that's exactly what I was going to say.
The Overton window is the range of acceptable discourse in society, and Ramaswingdong has moved it all the way to literal genocidal Nazi shit.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and by the way, and dear God, is she a national treasure? Ruth Ben-Ghiat says very clearly, Vivek Ramaswamy is a psyop.
Yeah,
that's exactly correct. Right. It's not blue anon. It's he is being paid to have a very, very dangerous psychological impact on the audience that's watching him, specifically Fox viewers and whoever the fuck is watching W yesterday. He's trying to literally red pill them into Nazis.
Word. Yeah. I was going to absolutely just say it's a testament to how far the Overton window has moved. And when Ruth talks about her studies of fascism, authoritarianism, how that playbook works, the cult leaders have to be surrounded by people equally, if not more corrupt than themselves. That's how it works. That's why they put people who don't have experience into their administration. You need to surround yourself with your corrupt cabal. And that is exactly what we're seeing right here. HiFi. Let's go back to heroes. We must have something else from John Mattis, whether it's from the Lawyers, Guns, and Money podcast or from our interview, something inspiring so people do not feel paralyzed by the fact that we are dealing with a very, very, very corrupt cabal in the extremist elements.
Jackson is a traitor, a treasonous traitor. Subsequent to this saga, I represented an entire army of CIA agents that were left behind in North Vietnam.
Can you pause it to deal with the echo? There's an echo.
He made the decision to desert his own troops, to leave them rotting in death camps for 20 years because he knew that he had operated in illegal war, combat operations in North Vietnam prior to the Gulf of Tonkin. He left that army to wither and die in POW camps, knowing, and then most egregiously, as the senior commander of a covert operation that employed hundreds of Vietnamese commandos in North Vietnam, he killed them on paper so that they would never be brought home. He left them to die.
I'm not sure we actually got the name there, which is Jack
Jack
Singlob.
Singlob,
So Jack Singlob is
General.
is one of the most prodigious Nazi rat fuckers in history, and I don't say that lightly.
I know you don't.
He was one of the founders of the OSS and one of the founders of the CIA, and over his career performed all kinds of war crimes, including the one that John Mattis was talking about, including being basically the lead guy for Iran-Contra for Reagan, and the guy who created a nonprofit in 1946 because I think he didn't like the way World War II went. That nonprofit's called America's Future, and it's currently being used to train white supremacists into Pizzagate in swing states. That's what Jack Singlob's nonprofit is doing now. Is there's little Jack. He's dead now. I'm sad about that, Jack. But the little Nazi's gone now, and now the new Nazi has taken over, and I can't emphasize this enough, training QAnon people and Christians in a church how to identify pedophiles in their own neighborhoods using John Podesta's Russian hacked emails from 7.5 years ago. That is how fucked up this whole thing is. The guy who allowed all of those people who were working for him to die slow deaths over decades, knowingly, because he wanted to cover up his own bullshit. That's the guy that Mike Flynn admired so much that he stole his nonprofit. Or that's Mike Flynn.
Oh my God! I gotta.
So gross.
I got an urgent text today. Like, did you see the indictment? And I was like, oh, is it going to finally be the people who plotted the insurrection? And then I saw it was some nonsense about Hunter Biden. And I just thought, wow, I know what I want to lead with. The fact that we're dealing with criminals.
I promise everyone that I will never vote for Hunter Biden for president. Okay?
Stop it.
Argument solved.
I don't even want to give it any air. I don't want to give it any air. So we have like 1 minute left. And I think that we cut a clip from Lawyers, Guns, and Money that really summarizes. No, we don't have that. All right. Yep. Well, I'm glad that we got to hear what we heard. But please listen to the entire series. Listen to episode 7, the final series. I listened to it like 14 times, taking notes. You know, I want to make sure that I understand the network tied to Iran-Contra is still the network that tried to overthrow our country. And I'm looking forward to the text message when the indictments come for those who plotted the insurrection, because they are still out there radicalizing people to be foot soldiers for the next insurrection. And like Dr. Hassan says, the crises that we're dealing with, undue influence is the most important topic of our times. And we're going to keep fighting because we realize that people are victims of something that they don't have an inoculation for as of yet. But we're going to keep pushing and keep fighting for them.
Sounds good. Go get them.
Okay.
So.
Oh God! I was waiting for it. Come on, man, hurry up!
Here comes the profundity.
I let you
Everybody
two
knows
talk
you have to have the last
time
fucking
now.
word.
Nope, my turn. Nope, my turn.
But it's like this
My
whole
turn.
rock band.
Irish,
Like this whole,
the
when you know
Irish.
the encore is coming.
I'll do
right?
this for 10 minutes. I swear to God, my turn.
Everybody's like, okay, come on out for the encore. Come on.
No, this is the final thing, man. The reason Alan Hostetter bothered me so much is what, just reading about this man with this broken brain. I mean, his brain is so broken. No sense of self-preservation, not even an attempt at an insincere remorse that might lighten the sentence slightly. Instead, he spouts the lies, of Peter Thiel's lackeys. It's a failure. It's a loss. It's another casualty in this war. And the thing we really have to remember about this war, these people that we're losing, is that it's all in service to one man. And that man is Vladimir Putin, right?
Yeah.
If any of these assholes win, if Flynn wins at all, at anything, it's in service to Putin. And Joe Biden kind of gets that. I at least agree with him on some things. I can work with the man. But I think I'm going to let him take us out.
Look, I know we have our divisions at home. Let's get past them. This is critical. Petty, partisan, angry politics can't get in the way of our responsibility as a leading nation in the world. The entire world is watching. The entire world is watching. What will the United States do? And think if we don't support Ukraine, what's the rest of the world going to do? What's Japan going to do, which is supporting Ukraine now? What's going to happen in terms of the G7? What's going to happen in terms of our NATO allies? What are they going to do? If we walk away now, it'll only embolden other would-be aggressors. So I'm calling on Congress to do something and do the right thing, to stand with the people of Ukraine, stand against the tyranny of Putin, stand for freedom, literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done.